having the right data available to you allows you to form the right pricing strategy, which also means you have the right negotiation leverage when it comes to a sales.
One of the biggest advantages that we bring across is our proprietary data cleansing framework.
Hi, my name is Rakesh. I represent Envision as the Executive Vice President. Today I am joined by Mohan Das, who is the CEO of Gulf Metal Foundry, part of 𝗧𝗏 Group. He's with me today to share some of the insights of his professional journey as a CEO and the importance of data across the enterprise. Welcome, Mohan.
Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I just invited you at a very short notice. First of all, thank you so much for joining with me today for this short discussion. And before we start into this discussion, I just wanted to go a couple of steps back, right? Understand what was the professional journey like? Some of the earliest stints of your life, how you landed up in the UAE, from the UAE start perspective, how did you traverse the journey to become a CEO?
Okay, so if I have to start my journey, I'll have to explain to you the kind of person I am, right? So I've always been a people person. Talking to people, interacting with people has been something of very high interest for me. So when I was deciding on my career path, one of the things that came up to me naturally was a career in sales. At the same time, being a mechanical engineer, I did not want to let go of that knowledge that I had gained during my engineering course as well. So technical sales was a no-brainer for me, and did my MBA and started my career in India. And luckily, throughout my course, I've always had the luck of working for companies that were the best in their fields, right? And I started my career in technical sales in India with products that were utilized, basically steam engineering products, but that were utilized for a wide variety of sectors. So I got exposure to food and beverages, exposure into petrochemicals, exposure into textiles, pharma, paper. So any of the sectors that needed heat used steam, which was the most efficient method. And that was me there doing the technical sales across those sectors. And that got me very interested and got my curiosity up. And that's something which I always wanted to pursue. And while pursuing that career, I got an opportunity to move to the Middle East by the company I was working for in India as well. And they wanted me to set up the operations for them in the Middle East. So that was 2007 for me. That was my first entry into the Middle East, and which again got me acquainted to two new sectors which I did not have much experience in India. This was the oil and gas, which was what was running the economy then and is still a key factor for the economy now as well, and the water sector, which is a desalination. Again, a massive shortage, which is an ever-growing industry here. So I moved from the energy industry, which is the steam sector, and into the oil and gas and water sector, which was my first step into steel. So I joined a foundry here, which also had its valve manufacturing division, and I was working for the valve manufacturing division. So I took on more of a regional role over here. Started off as an area sales manager, but was looking into a regional role. And that assignment and the association with steel continued over the past 17 years. Worked with a couple of multinational companies. So again, oil and gas, petrochemical, water, other industries like mining. And eventually got me to my current role as a CEO with Gulf Metal Foundry, which, if you ask me now, is a full circle. I started with a foundry in the Middle East, and now I'm back to a foundry.
Yes, it's such an amazing journey, And coming from a circle of your own stature of profiles, I've seen people come from various walks of life. But having pursued a career in sales, having pursued regional sales roles, how does this pivot happen to a CEO role? And I know for a fact that now you're in a great challenging role and you're going through some transformation. So can you explain to me what kind of transformations are you doing in your field?
See, if I walk you through where I started my career, right? Let's say from my area sales manager role onwards, which was the beginning of my association with steel, to where I am today. It's been a journey, and it's been a journey of continuous learning.
Yeah.
It's been a journey of focused growth. right? And that journey has taken me through various levels of learning as well. So when I start as an area sales manager, the focus that I had was different. It was more of a short focus where you have your monthly targets, you have your customer visits. That was what drove you there. But as you graduated up the ladder into a regional role, into a global role, your focus becomes much more broader, right? Then you start thinking about transformation. You start thinking about sustainability. You start thinking about building a culture, right? So it goes one step above. And in my growth, I also had the fortune of having good mentors with me, and those mentors have always, shaped my perspective. So they emphasized on key values like integrity, key values like honesty, key values like team building, key values of empowerment, and these values have always been with me throughout my journey, right? So those values, the context may have evolved over the years, but the values have remained with me in my journey from an area sales manager to a CEO, and those are values I look forward to implementing every day in my role in the company.
As you step into this transformational role as a CEO, you have operational challenges, you have challenges across the enterprise, right? So how do you prioritize these challenges, and what are some of the challenges that you think like company like a metal foundry, Gulf Metal Foundry, has to traverse through a journey, right? Which includes an element of technology, may not be 100%, but along with the business process, along with the technology, there are some areas of changes and some areas of re-transformation or digital transformation, as you call that, happens, right? So how do you see, how do you prioritize some of these challenges?
That's a very interesting question and very relevant for the foundry sector, because we call foundry as the mother of all industries, right? It's been here even 5,000 years before as well, right? So you have examples of the Bronze Age, Iron Age, even before that, where casting used to happen. That's what we do. We cast metal into various shapes and designs as per the customer's requirements. Now, this has been an industry where technology is not very relevant compared to the way the other industries grow.
I agree.
But that also does not mean that we can ignore the growth as well, right? So let me give you a small example. When I was starting my career, right, some of the challenges I had was in my younger role, leading without actual authority. So you have no control of supply chain management, you have no control of operations, but at the same time, you had to have these departments align themselves to the ultimate goal, which is customer satisfaction.
I agree.
So that is one of the challenges that actually taught me that leadership is not about title, right? Leadership is all about empowerment. Leadership is all about aligning people's vision, mission, goals into one single direction. So eventually everybody wins. As they say, all the boats must rise with the tide. Everybody has to grow. So that was one of the challenges that helped me shape my career. Now when you're talking about technology, right? One good example I can tell you what happened before 17 years back and why it's still relevant, if not more intensive now, is in 2007, if I had to find a customer to sell a boiler, I had to go through Yellow Pages. There was no Google Maps. Google was there, but the online presence of companies was not as good as what it is right now. So you had to go through, if I had to find a customer, for example, in the food and beverage, I had to go through Yellow Pages, open the food and beverage, find out customers, their names, their numbers, call them to see if they're trading, if they're manufacturing, find out where their address is. There is no Google Maps. So you have to call them. They'll explain to you how to get there. You then convert those words into a diagram and then use that diagram, you get there. The challenge there was not having enough data to make a decision at the right time.
Correct.
Now you fast forward 17 years later to where we are now. My facility, the factory I lead, we are an export-oriented company. So 80% of my customers are in Europe, 15% of my customers are in US. The remaining 5% is between Middle East, Southeast Asia and Australia. That's how the demography is. Now, the amount of information that comes is so varied and so complex because the compliance regulations, the rules, the competitive environment, what makes a successful sale, right? all these are different in different continents, and within the continents also will differ from country to country. So the challenge I had now is a stark opposite, but extremely complex. I did not have enough data in 17 years back to take a decision. Today I have so much of data. Making sense of that data into a strategic decision, into a strategic direction for the company, believe me, is a challenging role right now for the company.
Yeah, I completely agree. I hear similar challenges across the board from the same stature people as you are leading the role in this company. But do you think that all these data has been pumped into the systems with various standalone systems, siloed systems, traditional systems, so on and so forth. But have you seen some of these data being not used the right way, or it's not being manipulated, orchestrated in the right way? If given a chance, if this is orchestrated in the right way, what are some of the business advantages that you see over the period of time?
So you've got 2-3 questions in that statement. So let me hit it one by one.
Yeah.
So let me get to the siloed part of it, right? The challenge, so now you don't have a one solution for the entire company, right? You have companies who are experts in a particular domain.
Great.
So we have a separate system for the HR, you might have a separate system for supply chain, you might have a separate system for the manufacturing, a separate system for sales, and so on and so forth. Now, having these siloed softwares giving you information which is not interrelated to each other doesn't help you in one sense. Like, you cannot look at a sales forecasting decision and take a decision standalone looking only at that data without considering what is the operational backlog that you have in your system. At the same time, your supply chain, your inventory, your financial planning, all of these systems have to talk to each other. Otherwise, your decision will never be a holistic one, right? So that is why a siloed system doesn't work for an organization. It has to be departments with data talking to each other so that the leadership can then take an informed decision, taking into all these consideration of the data there. That is one thing.
So in a nutshell, what you're trying to say is like, data being accurate is one part,
Yes.
but at the same time, data has to be clean, and it has to be orchestrated, and it has to have a single source of truth.
Perfect.
So we discussed about having single source of truth across the enterprise. What are some of the challenges that you would have overcome if you had a single source of truth giving you the accurate data and giving you data without any kind of duplicate, so on and so forth?
See, Rakesh, that's a very important question for us, because let me tell you what can go wrong if you don't have a single source of truth. A few examples I can tell you. Now, if you're looking at engineering, right? So when we are manufacturing a product, that product comes with a bill of material. Now, if you have a miscommunication in data between what the customer wants and how that transpires into engineering and how that goes into making the product, you would have an error in the bill of material. And once you have an error in the bill of material, eventually you'll end up either manufacturing the wrong product, or when it comes to manufacturing, you will find a mismatch of parts, which is a waste of time, right? And we all know time is money. So that goes to late delivery, late invoicing, and loss of revenue for us. Another example, what we can tell you is if you're talking about inventory, right? For us, a lot of material, 70% of our material is on the right procurement of, let's say, sand or scrap, or the right type of material for the right kind of product. If you don't have the right forecasting available to the supply chain, they will not know when to buy the right material to ensure that your product is, or the raw materials are there when you have to manufacture it. Again, having the wrong raw material or a shortage of the right raw material causes a delay in manufacturing, which then has a cascading effect across all manufacturing processes, and most importantly, leads to an unsatisfied customer. And having that is one of the worst outcomes you can have. So for us, data is very important.
Completely agree. So in your current role, right, as a CEO, so you are the CEO of a Gulf Metal Foundry. So you have a whole team under you, right? And these team members have multiple observations and multiple variations on inferences of data, right? So some may not find it data to be important. Some people might find it to be important. So from an overall data organization perspective, within the structure of the team that you have under you,
what are some of the challenges that you see from inaccurate data getting across to your teams, and how they may not be able to deliver targets on time, so on and so forth?
Right. So let's start from the sales portion of it, right? So when you have data which is not correct, the pricing structure that you have, like I said before, cannot be a standard pricing across all regions, across all customers, across product types.
Yeah.
Having the right data available to you allows you to form the right pricing strategy, which also means you have the right negotiation leverage when it comes to a sales. Now, when you come to the operations part of it, having a right production planning, having the right bill of material means you reduce your cost of quality, which directly is a savings for me, right?
Yeah.
When you have a financial planning, when you have the reporting which goes upward, so the financial planning is also important for us to see how the year looks ahead for us, right? Which is very important for me when I'm managing a P&L. So to have all of these fall on the right track, data, accuracy of data, communication between different departments having different sets of data which is important to them, but when it comes together, it paints a bigger picture. So that kind of a scenario has to be created. And to ask your questions, sensitizing people to the importance of data and sensitizing people to inputting the right data is also important. We keep hearing this cliched statement saying garbage in, garbage out, which is very true when you talk about data also, right?
Correct.
So putting in the right data is stage one. And then using the output of that to make decisions important to their departments, and eventually when it comes to me in an easy to read or dashboard format is helpful for me to make the strategy. So all of the team members being aligned to treating data not just as data but as a strategic asset is something which leaders have to continuously work on.
One other flavor that I wanted to definitely discuss with you was your business is basically international. Yes. You are into export. You're dealing with other foreign countries, different regulations, different compliance, so on and so forth. So does the data, the clean data as well as the single source of truth, does it affect any compliance regulatory issues today? Or do you think that is something that you are in control of?
I would like to say that we are in control of it, right? But the truth is you can never be in full control of it, right? There are always gaps in your data management regime that you have. And compliance is extremely important. In today's world, having an industry which is compliant to various regulations, it could be environmental, there's a host of regulations out there.
Okay.
You being in compliance to all of these, because we deal with companies also that are highly compliant to those norms being used by European companies, right?
Okay.
Now, if I talk about Europe, I can give you one example. They have something called CBAM. That's a carbon border adjustment mechanism, which is completely different from the regulations that is there in US or India or any other part of the world.
Yeah.
So for us, taking that CBAM, dissecting it to what it means into the raw initial data which allows us to take action on it is something which is important to us. Similarly, to answer your question, regulations, compliance, all of these are mandatory for us, which we follow it very methodically. Would we like to have more control on it? As a leader, I would say definitely yes.
Yeah. And again, from a peer level perspective, the CEO is one of the most important activity would be to look at that the organization is completely compliant. Having said that, what is the advice that you give to similar CEO profiles or colleagues of your stature on data management?
My advice to other CEOs is don't wait for an unfortunate trigger. And when I say unfortunate trigger, there are triggers. Triggers can always be positive, can have some unfortunate influences also. So I'm saying don't wait for an unfortunate influence. It could be an audit failure. It could be a quality challenges. All of these have deep and sometimes long-lasting effects of your company. No CEO would want that, right? A CEO would like to have his focus on a growth, on setting a vision which takes the company forward, right? So rather than waiting for these kind of negative triggers, they should be proactive in developing systems which can be scalable, but having these systems in place is the need of the hour, and my advice is do it now. So having said that, Rakesh, I'm keen to understand how Envision can help organizations struggling with poor data quality.
Yeah, so Mohan, data is one of the key DNAs for our company, data management, master data management. We have been in this space for the last 2 decades, right? And when it comes to a specific approach, we take a hands-on approach. Because at the end of the day, we have to complement teams with good subject matter expertise, talent across multiple platforms, and making sure that we are addressing the right team in front of the customer. So we begin by doing a data quality assessment and to benchmark the current issues. For example, the challenges that you mentioned about manufacturing space, right? We benchmark all of these things and translate into some of the technology solutions. Now, we are a tool agnostic company, but depending upon how the challenges are characterized, we tell you the right platform of your choice with the commercial and technical advantage. But having said that, one of the biggest advantages that we bring across is our proprietary data cleansing framework. Because many people fail to understand that the data that they might have may not be clean for the operations that they require in the future.
Interesting.
Referring to your prior answers, whether it is supply chain, whether it's inventory, how does the data flow through these systems, and how does it make ultimate reference to increase of your revenue, increase of your sales, is all dependent upon how the quality of data which is being fed in, right? So we use a proprietary data cleansing framework, which includes rule-based profiling, which includes duplication logic, which includes enrichment via external sources, and also automated error detection, right? So combining all of these mechanisms, we ensure that the quality data, the data assessment is done, and wherever the gaps are there, we help the customer understand that gaps up ahead of the life cycle, right? Okay. So before making any strategic investments and decisions on the data management front, they already have the blueprint on what is the current stature of the data that they possess. Right? So that's one step. For instance, one of the things that we have done for a major FMCG distributor in the GCC region is we have reduced duplication efforts by 85%, right? And implemented real-time validations for onboarding new suppliers and products into their ERP, because they had major challenge of onboarding suppliers into the ERP, and which led to a faster procurement cycle and regulatory alignment. One of the things that you mentioned earlier was how does the profile of a CEO get affected if you're not compliant to a regulatory mechanism? So we do that.
So Rakesh, one thing which Gulf Metal Foundry is going through right now is automation and eventually graduating into an Industry 4.0. Right? So we've started that journey. It's an exciting journey, but we're going through it right now. But there are buzzwords which is very important for us, like AI and machine learning. How do you combine all these things, and what's your view on that right now?
Yeah. It's a very interesting topic, but today the whole world is talking about AI and ML. But if you look at the underlying aspects of AI and ML, is data. You have to have clean data, right? And you have to have a single source of truth across the enterprise to ensure that whatever business process that you're applying, the AI techniques, the machine learning techniques, it is delivering you the best technical as well as business results. But unfortunately, what we have seen in the industry is, without having the right data structure, data management, master data management in place, people jump onto the bandwagon of AI and ML, and ultimately they actually spend using a lot of resources, organizational resources, using organizational money to design certain projects, which eventually does not deliver 100% guaranteed outcomes.
Okay. That's a very interesting point, Rakesh, but here's my question.
Sure.
And I spoke to you about how GMF is undergoing a digital transformation, Industry 4.0. Now, what value addition would an organization such as yourself would do for a company like mine who's just started this journey now?
Yeah. Mohan, see, spoke before. Manufacturing, FMCG and retail are our strongest domains that we operate in, right? But having said that, we are uniquely positioned as a digital transformation partner. When I say uniquely, unlike traditional system integrators, our strength is at building unified data foundation first. That is a very critical task that we complete. Then enabling clients to derive actionable insights across domains. See, this actionable insights is what provides the end value
to our customers and profiles like the chief executive officers, the CFOs, so on and so forth. Because for every business, when you are investing in the business, you are expecting a significant amount of ROI to come in. We are enablers of those ROIs in the future. Even in Industry 4.0, multiple digital transformation exercises we are partner to, right? And we do that and to ensure that particular ROI is guaranteed. Now, how do we do that? We combine deep industry knowledge experience with best-in-class tool framework on master data management, whether it be Informatica, whether it be 𝗏𝗏, whether it be 𝗏𝗏, we actually give rapid deployment models, right? And also using our accelerator frameworks. So accelerators are nothing but we develop unique IPs across certain domains where we see a gap between the OEM principle as well as the business.
Okay.
So that the business does not need to reinvent the wheel from scratch, where a provider like us can actually bridge the gap, right? So we do that. One of the strongest points is we have accelerated frameworks across the manufacturing domain and retail domain and FMCG domain, which helps our customers get to faster time to market, right? Having said that, one of the benefits that we get, our clients benefit from reduced implementation risk. It improved user adoption and long-term ROI. That is the goals that we enable our customers to achieve. Now, we also provide the customized industry playbooks, which is again tailored to regional market dynamics, which is very important for players like you. For example, you are doing domestic as well as international business. Now, if you need a flavor where you have to enable your international business units to a specific data format, specific mechanism for operations, we enable that.
So at a CEO level, right, we're always faced with data and decision making at that level using the data. So how can Envision support a data-driven decision making at a CEO level?
You know, Mohan, it's a very insightful question, and one of the most important things you should understand is CEOs are always busy. They are pulled in all directions. Their span of attention to certain things in the organization, they prioritize and they give it depending upon the nature of the business that they are running. But we understand all those dynamics. So what we do is we help CEOs and their leadership gain real-time access to trusted business intelligence by establishing the golden records across the domain. Only by establishing the golden records, you can get to a trusted BI, where you can further look at making important business decisions for your entire business. Now, in your role, being the CEO of the company, you might be challenged with domestic decisions as well as international decisions. So you need that trusted BI to come across from certain sources. That's what we provide. But with centralized and very good dashboards linked to the governed MDM sources, executive teams can actually track financial KPIs, customer behavior, supply chain performance, and risk profiles. So across the organizations, you will see that benefit come across once you establish that single source of truth or golden record. Now, in our engagement, I just want to quote a real life example is in our engagement with a multi-brand food services company, we have led to a faster procurement decision making and a 15% improvement in demand forecasting accuracy and improved collaboration between the business units.
This company is in the region here?
It is in the GSC region, right? And having said that, that was a big win for the business to making sure that the procurement decisions are made fast and the demand forecasting is done rightly, and which was again another challenge that you spoke about in your nature of the business, and an improved collaborative nature across the business units.
Okay.
Right? Mohan, one of the things that is actually coming up as a inquisitive thing from my side is you have been in this role and it's been a successful role, and you're taken on some of the critical transformation challenges. But is this transformation going to be a long run one, and how are you going to get this transformation to a logical conclusion?
So, you know, as they say, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. As far as our transformation journey is concerned, we have started that step.
Yeah.
But there are so much of aspects that come into managing data, and all I can say is it's an exciting journey. Gulf Metal Foundry is looking forward to it because, like I said, we are a traditional organization. by nature, right? To incorporate technology into that traditional organization is actually what will set us apart, right? So we want to be the leaders there. We want to be at the forefront when it comes to these kind of transformation, when it comes to implementing data management, especially master data management. And I look forward to seeing the effects of those on the positive story that is our growth. And that's my view on the complete transformation.
Thank you so much, Mohan, for your time. Wishing you all the best for your.
Thank you so much, Rakesh, for having me here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.